Hello, hi everyone. Today I want to talk about more stock arguments that you can use in a lot of debate motions. And since my editor got this really cool toy, we're gonna use it. So, cool. So I'm gonna talk about 3 different arguments today. Most of this is just off the top of my head, so I don't know if this will be a good video. The first argument I want to tell you about is the argument. This is broken. Take number 3. The first argument I want to talk about today is an argument about representation. There's a lot of debates where you have to make an argument about representation. And what do I mean by representation? Basically, it's the argument that it's really good to be able to see people who are similar to or look like you. Basically in media or in politics or even in other places of power. What this means is that, for example, if you are a gay person and you see more representations or more positive representations of gay people in movies, TV shows, media, social media, or in positions of power in government, then you will have a better life and there will be a lot of great beneficial impacts for you. This kind of boils down to 2 different things. Representation is good because A, it makes you feel good as a person who is of that group. And you feel good for a lot of different reasons. Mainly because you feel as though you are seen and that other people can sort of understand you a little bit better. And you feel like you are more important or that you are more capable. For example, if you're African American and you see another African American person in a really big TV show or movie, such as Black Panther, you will feel as if you are more capable and that you are more seen. The B impact is the fact that more representation leads to narrative change. Change about how you and your group is perceived by the larger society. So not only do you feel seen, but we have the actual impact of people trying to understand or being able to understand your group a lot better. For example, when the movie Brokeback Mountain came out, it broke a lot of stereotypes about what gay people are actually like. Or when the movie Mulan came out, it broke a lot of stereotypes as to what Asian people were like. And it changed the culture and the narrative of the culture. And enough of these representations of people within the media or within social media, if there is enough of this, there's going to be a critical mass of people who understand you, understand these minority groups or these diverse groups, and then sort of advocate for change for them. So, for example, a larger understanding of gay people through all of the media that portrayed gay people allowed gay people to gain the right to marry in America. So that's the power of representation. However, this argument also has a bit of a twist when it comes to politics, because representation in politics leads to direct action. For example, if there are maybe more women in government, they would create more policies that are favorable and give rights to and help women. So the representation can lead to a cultural change. It can also improve the lives of individuals. Or, lastly, it can lead to direct political change. Direct change. For example, if there are possibly people who are LGBTQIA in the parliament or within the government, they're more likely to advocate for and create policies that give these people opportunities and equality. Right? So representation is you go through the representative to create direct policies that affect the people. So representation, use that as an argument for a lot of debate motions. So it could be debates about should we change the ethnicity or the gender of certain characters within movies. Like for example, should we have like a black James Bond instead? So yeah, that is the argument of representation. Okay, next argument. It is backlash. This is almost always an opposition argument. So backlash is the argument that if you make a change, there are a lot of people who don't like that change and will either protest against it or fight against it. That's backlash. For example, if you ban smoking, you will get a lot of backlash from people within the society who like having the freedom to be able to smoke, right? And then backlash just for backlash's sake is not a good argument. Backlash is only a good argument when you can explain how big the backlash is and the fact that it might be warranted or there might be real reasons for it. And backlash is a real argument when it links to impacts on the important actor. So for example, if you had a debate motion about affirmative action and you were giving more people of diverse backgrounds more slots at colleges, you would have to explain how the impacts of the backlash from the majority populations would impact the diverse populations or the minority populations. For example, the backlash from the majority might make it so that the minorities are perceived as being less capable or that they don't deserve those slots as much. Or the backlash might be that the people who enter these colleges have a worse sort of quality of life because the backlash is so big and the hatred towards them is so big because of the affirmative action. So backlash has to be linked to two things. It has to be the backlash, you have to prove why the backlash would be so big against a certain initiative, policy, action. And then you have to explain how this would impact the vulnerable stakeholder, the diverse minority. And then backlash is an argument that can be run in a lot of debate motions. It should almost never be the primary argument of an opposition team. It's just like a good secondary argument that you can use to expand the impacts in the debate to try to win as opposition. Yeah. Okay. Backlash. And also, backlash is a very intuitive argument, right? You do a thing, you create a policy, you create an action, some people don't like it, and therefore, they're going to fight against it. Very intuitive, and that's why it's really easy to run as an argument. Of course, the reason why they don't like that thing has to be explained, right? And a lot of explanation as to why human beings don't like certain actions would be A, because it's too radical of an action, too big of an action, too big of a change, and people usually don't like change. People are not accustomed to big changes within their lives. And the second reason is that the action taken by that policy actively hurts the people who will backlash, right? So in a way, banning smoking actively hurts smokers because it takes away their freedom. Or creating affirmative action for minority groups sort of actively hurts the majority groups because their majority groups have less of a chance to maybe get into college or get a job. So yeah, that is backlash. So the last time I did this video, I gave an argument, a stock argument called autonomy. And autonomy was about freedom, right? Giving people freedom, the freedom to choose what they want. But this argument is an argument against freedom. And this argument is called coercion. Coercion. This argument is the idea that the person who is given freedom is not actually making a free choice. They are making a coerced choice. What does this mean? So basically, like, let's say we have a motion where we, instead of giving people, like poor people, welfare, such as free food and low-cost housing and things like that, instead of that, we just gave them cash, right? So that is a motion. It's like this house would give cash installments instead of welfare, something like that. Proposition is going to say that that is freedom, right? They're giving these poor people the freedom to choose what they want. But opposition can actually say that this is quite coercive, as in, because of the fact that they're giving all this freedom, the coercive the coercive nature of alcohol or drugs or other vices, things that are not very good for people, are actually making it so that these people don't have a lot of freedom. Like for example, if someone is an alcoholic and you give them the freedom to do whatever they want with their money, then in a way they're not really free. They're just sort of going to go towards what they're addicted to or what their vices are. Or give another example. What's a better example? Oh, here's another great example. Okay, so this house would ban social media for teenagers under 16. So opposition would talk about freedom, right? These students, these teenagers should have the freedom to choose whatever they do. They should be able to be on social media, right? A proposition can say that it is coercion. So in this house would ban social media for those under 16. Opposition would say freedom, autonomy is good. They should have the freedom to do what they want on social media because people should have freedom. But proposition can say that that's actually not freedom. Being allowed to do social media is not freedom because it's coercion. They have no choice but to use social media. Why is it coercive? Why is it that they actually have no choice, no autonomy? Because a few reasons. One, social media is engineered by thousands of really smart engineers and people who do coding to hook people in as much as possible. So you don't really have a choice whether you do engage in social media or not, because it's so addictive and so well orchestrated to be addictive. But the second reason is that all of your friends are doing it. If all of your friends are on social media, then do you really have a choice, or are you being coerced by the society and the culture to do the social media and to join social media and get on TikTok? So those are the reasons why actually teenagers don't really have the autonomy either way. Even if we give them the freedom to choose whether to use social media or not, they don't actually have a choice and they're actually coerced to using social media. So coercion is basically an anti-argument against freedom. If the other team says, oh, we're giving them freedom and autonomy, coercion is saying, no, you're not actually giving them freedom. You're giving them something that looks like freedom, but it only has one destination. That's what coercion means. So yeah, coercion can take a lot of forms. Coercion can take the form of giving somebody a bad option and an even worse option. Coercion can be giving people the opportunity to work in the United States, but their immigration status goes away as soon as they try to change jobs, right? They're being coerced because they don't actually have freedom. It looks like freedom, but they don't have it. Oh, I have a better example. Coercion can be giving criminals in prison the opportunity to lower their sentences by letting them undergo drug trials. So drug testing, right? But that's coercive because you're telling them, hey, you can get out of prison early as long as you do these drug trials, even though these drug trials are very likely to hurt their body. So you're coercively hurting their body. You're giving them the freedom to choose whether they stay in prison or they undergo the drug trials, but it's not really a choice because nobody really wants to stay in prison. They would rather take the drug trials, but that could lead to all these bad things, right? Like burning their bodies or getting a lot of illnesses and such. So that's what coercion is. You just have to be able to find out why something is coercive, why it's an illusion of freedom, and why it's not actual freedom at all. So 3 arguments we went over: representation, backlash, and coercion. Representation, saying that people being able to see people that they look like on television or in power is good. Second argument on backlash: whenever you make a change, there's always an angry person that will hate that change. And then coercion is the idea that sometimes giving people the freedom to do something is not actual freedom, it's just the illusion of freedom. So yeah, those are the 3 stock arguments, and those arguments happen in so many debates. Thank you for being with me, and I'm gonna walk off stage. Okay, so it can track me, it can track my pen. So my pen that is broken,